Something about old websites is mystifying. Places that were once frequently trafficked and actively maintained are now abandoned, forgotten about, and possibly offline. But for those spaces that can still be found in the modern day, you have to ask yourself, what happened here? The Robert Experience is a website I'm sure you've never heard of before. Almost exactly 1 year ago, I discovered a post while browsing Reddit discussing this cryptic website from the mid-2000s. The Robert Experience website and its unsolved puzzles. The Wayback Machine is the only proof it existed. Back in my last years of high school, there was a small website with some vague plot and a promise of an ARG-type experience. However, it all just fizzled out as none of us could ever figure out this pyramid, and eventually, it went offline. I still find myself wondering on days like today what the intention of the owner was, and if they had a plot in mind, and to say thanks for the nights I spent wondering what it all meant. Attached is an image of the aforementioned pyramid, along with a link to the archived version of the website. The website features 4 puzzles: news from the front, the jumbled riddle, how fast can you addition, and my pyramid. The author of the Reddit post, Pags, mentioned that all the puzzles were solved except for my pyramid. And although we can't check answers due to the website being defunct, we can still have a look. News from the front provides us with a small bit of newspaper and the question, what do you combine? This seems fairly straightforward, as in the snippet about children receiving treatment for an unknown disease, it's mentioned that doctors combined flora and fauna to create a treatment. So the answer is most likely flora and fauna. How fast can you addition is a page displaying 6 4-digit numbers. The catch is that the page reloads every 5 seconds, and the numbers will change as well. If you're fast enough to add up all the numbers and input it into the answer box, then you win. In this instance, the answer is 38,466. The jumbled riddle is a step up from those two. The instructions say we have to use the Robert cipher, specifically designed by the owner of the website, Robert, and we're provided with what looks like a word search. In actuality, if we read from left to right, this block of text is made up of plain English. Totem, say hi to them, hi to them. We have to ride the horse east to yield to him. He uses it now to again leer at his girls. Take lemon to meet the monks. Abort a feature. Rest or suffer our baffling laugh. Robert heals the chant. Sonnet, lusting the meat of his black and weak otter. He has a green eye kite. The knight yells. Running this through a few basic ciphers doesn't do much help, as it doesn't look like this message is encoded at all. Maybe the Robert cipher is just meant to throw us off, though I have no idea what we could possibly put inside the answer box. The 4th and final puzzle is the infamous unsolved pyramid. The pyramid features 64 letters inside of it, with 2 green eyes above, containing an E, 4, B, and Q. Possibly a reference to the previous puzzle's second to last line, he has a green eye kite. It's easy to see why this puzzle went unsolved for so many years, as it's hard to make sense of it. However, this wasn't all that the website had to offer. Reddit users were quick to find that the website also hosted a forum for users to discuss the puzzles. The forum is divided into 2 parts, the beginning and the next step, consisting of almost 1,000 posts in total. I wasn't able to personally access any of them, however one user on Reddit was able to dig up 2 threads, one discussing solving the pyramid, and one congratulating a user named Viginti on making over 200 posts. In these threads, we can see that the users on the forum interacted with 2 moderators named Lock and Key, who seemed to act under Robert. I noticed that attached to some of these accounts are email addresses, so I took a shot in the dark and reached out to a few users, including Pags, the creator of the Reddit post and someone who is active on the forum, Viginti, and Key. And while Key never responded, I was able to get in contact with the other 2. Sorry if I've got the wrong person, but were you by chance active on a website named the Robert Experience back in 2006-2007? I'm doing a bit of investigative work and would like to ask you a few questions about the site. You have the right person in the sense that I was active on that site, but I'm not the right person to ask as my memory is terrible. I assume that I probably found the site through a lost forum, as there were a number of ARGs being run alongside the show, and people tended to stumble into other unaffiliated mystery sites and mistakenly trying to connect them back to Lost. For those of you who don't know, Lost was a TV series running from 2004 to 2010, notorious for its official ARGs such as The Lost Experience. All the background lore in Robert's puzzles about medical experiments and institutions is similar ground as the Dharma stuff in the Lost ARGs, and is probably what made someone draw that connection. I, having then fallen into the Robert rabbit hole, would have then roped Pags in, because he has a better head for puzzles than I do. I've been mulling over the pyramid for about 2 days now, so while I focus on that, I'd like to rattle off some questions about the site. It's alright if you don't remember. What can you tell me about Robert? Is he a real person, and did he ever interact with the forum users? Robert seemed to be a real person, as there was some user on the forums named SlickRB or something like that, who joined a year before the site was discovered. They posted rarely. Is there anything notable about the users named Locke and Key? Key was the moderator who tended to do all the official posting. They gave us clues that were written in a similar way to the text above the puzzles. I think Locke was, perhaps, another alias of theirs, and presumably all 3 users were Robert. Do you remember the solutions to any of the puzzles, or how they were solved? I don't believe we ever officially solved any of the puzzles, or if we did, I'm not sure if the site was properly coded to accept them. Part of the problem was that the 4 puzzles on the site seemed to be interconnected. I remember one approach we took to the pyramid had to do with the eyes and eye line crossing the text. People drew up diagrams and felt, at times, that they were on the cusp of cracking it, but it always felt like we were missing some extra piece of information. Did the whole thing die off because no one was able to solve the pyramid? Ultimately, interest did die out because we weren't able to make progress. Discovering the Phoenix site rekindled it a little, but Key's posts were sporadic, and eventually people grew tired of hitting their head against the wall and being disillusioned about there actually being an answer or a larger plan in place. I'm not much of a codebreaker myself, so my function was largely trying to bring people to the site and keep the forums active, as I figured someone would eventually come up with the right knowledge or perspective to make sense of things. Alas, it didn't happen, and Robert gave up or got bored. For context, the Phoenix site mentioned by Viginti is something I actually learned about through my brief discussion with Pags on Reddit. He said he remembers being taken to a site called Phoenix Solutions, where you would need to input 4 keys provided by answering all 4 puzzles, though I never ended up finding an archived version of that website. So let's go over what we know. The Robert Experience, inspired by the Lost series, was a website run by 3 users, Robert, Key, and Locke, who might have all been the same person. The website hosted 4 puzzles, all of which were solved except for the elusive pyramid. When answered, the puzzles would provide a key to be inputted into another website, which would then lead to something. So what do we do with this information? Like I said before, we can't check our answers now that this site is offline, meaning we'll never know the truth. So why did I investigate this? Because I thought it was interesting, and because I wanted to spread awareness to those who might know the answer to these puzzles, those who were active on the Robert Experience back in the day, or even Robert himself, if he happens to see this.
Sheriff's Communications, Dispatcher 55.
Yes, I need to report an anonymous tip. Who do I talk to?
Okay, this is regarding what?
This is regarding a mass suicide. I think there was a religious group that committed suicide.
How long ago? Do you know about how long ago?
Not really.
On March 26, 1997, deputies discovered the bodies of 39 individuals inside a northern San Diego mansion known as the Monastery. It was a wave of mass suicides taking place over 2 days. One group would take a mixture of phenobarbital and then tie plastic bags around their head, while the group after them would clean up the dead bodies of the previous group before preparing to kill themselves in the same way. Each body wore an armband reading out, "Heaven's Gate Away Team."
planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us.
If you've been around for a while, you probably remember Heaven's Gate for the reasons I just mentioned. It was a tight-knit group of around 40 members, known for their beliefs about ascension and UFOs. Members of Heaven's Gate believed that, when the time was right, they could ascend from their earthly bodies and board a UFO, or that their consciousness would be transferred to a body of a higher level. These 39 individuals believed that the Hale-Bopp comet was a sign for them to begin their suicide ritual, as they speculated that a UFO was tailing the comet. So when the comet came close to Earth, the wave of suicides began. But as it turns out, not all members died in the ritual. 2 surviving members, who go by the names Mark and Sarah King, were asked not to join the ritual so that they may stay behind and maintain this website, heavensgate.com. The website is fairly old and looks to have not been updated for quite some time. The basic rundown, as explained on the website, is this. 2,000 years ago, a being from the next level placed itself into the body of Jesus to serve as a representative and guide believers into the kingdom of heaven. Fast forward 2,000 years, and the founder, Marshall Applewhite, also known as Doe within the group, is acting as the modern-day representative to guide the members of Heaven's Gate to the next level. Those who were willing to follow him and leave behind everything on Earth participated in the 1997 mass suicide, including Applewhite himself. The website includes a statement published by the Heaven's Gate OA team, presumably right before the first wave of suicides began. By the time you read this, we suspect that the human bodies we were wearing have been found, and that a flurry of fragmented reports have begun to hit the wire services. For those who want to know the facts, the following statement has been issued. We came from the level above human in distant space, and we have now exited the bodies that we were wearing for our earthly task. The distant space we refer to is what your religious literature would call the kingdom of heaven, or the kingdom of God. We came for the purpose of offering a doorway to the kingdom of God, and in doing so we had to enter human bodies. Now it is time for us to leave those bodies we borrowed for this specific task. Periodically, the next level sends in a representative and offers a graduation class, offers life out of this evolutionary level into the next. For this group of believers, the representative was known as Doe. The page then goes on to explain that, should you wish to join them, you must undergo a death-like release, preferably in the west or southwest of the United States, where you'll be picked up by a spacecraft if your death is successful. However, this only worked around the time of the group's suicide, as the page states that you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven without a representative. As someone born after 1997, it seems that I missed out on the ascension ceremony. The group's suicide was only made possible through the presence of the representative, Doe, and the passing of the Hale-Bopp comet. So for those Heaven's Gate members who were left behind, what do you do now? At the bottom of each page is an email address, so, of course, I reached out. Hello. I've been reading through the materials on the website and was wondering, if someone today truly resonated with the Heaven's Gate beliefs, is there still a path for them to shed their human container, or was that act meant solely for the original group in 1997? And in just 1 hour, I received a reply. There is no graduation opportunity at this time. No one should commit suicide via any method. I partially figured that this would be the case. Heaven's Gate features an entire section on their website about being against suicide. What happened in 1997 isn't viewed as suicide by the members of Heaven's Gate. Rather, it's ascension to the next level via shedding your physical vessel. I believe that somewhere on the website I read that someday in the future there will be another opportunity to graduate, but when and where that might take place is unknown. I really appreciate your time and your response. I don't mean to be a bother, but I was wondering, how long do you or your group plan on maintaining the Heaven's Gate website? And do you believe the next graduation opportunity will happen within either of our lifetimes? Thanks again. We will maintain the site as long as possible. No, it will occur in the distant future. Digging a bit deeper into the website, we can find lots of writing, an image of how a member of the Kingdom of Heaven might appear, transcripts from Doe, and messages left behind by some of the members of the 97 away team. The main reason I want to leave at this time is because I know who T and Doe are. They are members of the Kingdom of Heaven, and I know it. I believe in, cleave to, trust in, and rely totally upon them. You would ask me, what if God wants you to live your life out? I can't imagine that this is the case. Despite everything that has happened throughout Heaven's Gate's history, this website has stood the test of time and is clearly still maintained for everyone to witness their beliefs.
So I'm going to have a look here.
Creepypasta today is sort of a lost art. The term first blew up on 4chan in the early 2000s as a scary story you can copy and paste online, like a copypasta, the most familiar of which being Slenderman. And like Slenderman, as creepypasta popularity grew online, the stories evolved past simple text-based horror. In mid-2012, a website suddenly came online, normalpeople.com, a website dedicated to the eradication of abnormal sexuality. The site was largely empty, except for a video titled shack.avi.
One of their vaunted E-boats came out to the attack. The officers and men with whom I rode wondered searchingly about this. They had been keyed up with some real German opposition to any enemy who may have been lying in wait for us. Then the fast and heavy combat ships moved up into position. All aligned themselves in the bombardment area to loose a hail of high explosives to protect the troops moving.
The website was already a massive hit, garnering tens of thousands of visits. But why? Earlier in 2011, a creepypasta was uploaded online under the same name. It was this creepypasta that was driving traffic toward the website, despite the author of the creepypasta claiming to have nothing to do with the website. Everybody knows that if you surf the web long enough, you see some pretty sick. I've seen quite a few things I don't care to admit to, but one thing that I'll always remember is a site called normalpeople.com. The first strange thing about the site was that I didn't find it by actually looking for it. It was emailed to me by someone I didn't know. Hi there. Found this site, is very nice, thought you might like. normalpeople.com. Pass it on, for the good of mankind. It was a very average, very generic looking site. It gave the impression that the creators just barely gave a about making it look professional. The site had a strange tagline, which was, Normal for Normal People, a website dedicated to the eradication of abnormal sexuality. The author then goes on to explain how, after clicking a few links, they downloaded a video titled peanut.avi, a 30-minute video of a man, a woman, and a dog in a kitchen. The woman would make a peanut butter sandwich, and the man would set it down for the dog to eat. It was obvious that the cameraman had to stop filming and wait until the dog was ready to eat again, and the dog seemed rather sick by the end of it. Someone who had received the same email as I did created a thread on an image board I frequent to discuss the topic, and that's how I saw other videos. I'll give a brief description of what I saw. lickedclean.avi, a 10-minute video filmed by a hidden camera in which we see a repairman working on a washing machine for the first 2 minutes. When it's fixed, the repairman talks to the owner briefly and then leaves. The owner checks to make sure the repairman is gone, and he begins to lick all over the top of the washing machine. This goes on for 7 minutes. Diana.avi, 4-minute video in which the cameraman talks to a woman named Diana about playing the violin. Diana obviously plays her violin in the video, but she keeps getting distracted by something. I didn't notice this until someone on the image board pointed it out, but if you look in the mirror, you can see a fat man in a chicken mask. Tonguetied.avi. The first 5 minutes consist of an elderly woman making out with a mannequin. The video cuts out halfway through to a group of mannequins huddled in a circle around the camera. The lights have been dimmed, and the elderly woman is nowhere to be seen. Privacy.avi. The woman from Diana.avi is on a mattress, while a man with no legs walks around on his hands wearing some sort of goblin mask. The door in this room was always closed in other videos, but now it's open. In this video, the only light is in the room, and the hallway is dark. Near the end of the video, you can see an animal quickly run through the hallway. Useless.avi. In this 18-minute video, a blonde woman from one of the previous videos is tied down to a mattress in the interview room. She attempts to scream, but her mouth is taped over. After 7 minutes, a man in a black suit and mask opens the door, but he does not enter. He holds the door open for the animal that was running in the hall in the previous video. It's revealed to be an adult chimpanzee. Its hair shaved and its entire body painted red. It seemed to be starved and abused, with several wounds along its shoulder and back. When the chimp enters the room, the masked man closes the door behind it. The chimpanzee notices the woman tied to the mattress and begins to maul her. The assault goes on for a grueling 7 minutes, until the woman finally dies. The chimp eats parts of her corpse for 4 minutes as the video ends. The thread exploded with activity after this video was uncovered, and people discussed it long into the night. When it came back to the image board the next day, I found that the thread was deleted. I tried to start another one, and they banned me. I tried emailing the guy who sent me the chain letter with the site's URL, never got a response. That was the story that inspired this website. So now let's have a look at the real-life version of Normal for Normal People. The website is now defunct, so we have to rely on web pages found on the Wayback Machine.
area to loose a hail of high explosives to protect the troops moving into the beaches on their landing craft.
Bye, Mama.
While most of the videos on the Normal for Normal People website don't exactly follow the premise of the original story, some of them actually do, such as the old lady making out with mannequins in tonguetied.avi, or the man licking the countertop clean in lickedclean.avi. To this day, no one really knows what the intent was behind creating these videos. Was it to piggyback off of the original Creepypasta, or was it to create an independent ARG? Nevertheless, this website is part of internet folklore, and I find it interesting, despite it being just a creepypasta.